Hello, howdy, and welcome to another Grow Lapse video all about the cabbage. I'm Catherine, the Aerogarden Homesteader. This is going to be a hard grow lapse to talk about. The absolute fun and joy I had watching this cabbage grow from seedling to forming a head were definitely crushed at the end by this grow. I am so far unable to grow cabbage outside in the garden because we have a major slug issue, and they devour my cabbage and other brassicas with wild abandon. So I had high hopes that this would be something I could grow inside. I began 2 seeds. The Bounty was the largest garden I owned, and I knew cabbage would be a huge plant. So I went with 2 plants on opposite sides of the garden. And this wasn't that bad. They did grow to touch, but the bottom leaves would occasionally dry up and fall off, so I felt like they still had room to grow. Maybe one would have been better, giving it better access to the light and nutrients, but it is really hard to say. As the cabbage plants grew, I did notice that one began to form a head, but the other one seemed to stubbornly defy its pre-programmed growth pattern. So I just kept watching and hoping. Hope doesn't always amount to much, but it doesn't hurt, and eventually the stubborn cabbage did in fact begin to form a head. Before I get to that though, I did opt to increase the amount of food the plants were getting. I did this around the same time for many of the plants in the room, and many of the plants greatly benefited from this extra nutrition. The cabbage might have also enjoyed the extra food, but it was hard to tell. It just kept trucking along at a nice steady pace. The head continued to form while the outer leaves would slough off one at a time. And while I totally could have pulled outer leaves to eat, and I did this once, I really wanted to have a nice large head of cabbage that I could turn into sauerkraut for long-term enjoyment. And this goes back to the dreaded unitasker plants. Cabbage is a big unitasker. It took up space, tied up a garden, and was an absolute joy to watch grow, right up until the end where it developed a split that increased noticeably every day. I held out as long as I could, hoping that the split would stop and the head would continue forming, but alas, it was not to be. The split got bad and I eventually harvested both heads. And while I'm very sad about this rather dismal turn of events, I am pleased that the second cabbage had indeed begun to form a head. This is not a plant I think I would grow indoors again. It took a lot of space, and I don't feel like I got a good return on that precious investment. But it was a lot of fun, and I did get a great bit of enjoyment out of it. So it was worth giving it a try once. I did try looking up the issue to see if maybe I could diagnose what might have gone wrong, and overwatering as the head is near to full size can cause this cracking issue. Since this is only in water, there might not be a way to get around this overwatering issue. This ultimately was a roller coaster of emotions. I have the other grow lapses linked, but I don't think any of the other ones are as emotional as this one. I also linked the playlist to the whole garden, and that is just starting to get going. I hope you aren't too sad by this video. Thank you for spending time with me today, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.